The connection is exceptionally slow this evening. If you could bear with me for just a couple minutes here. And Mr. Betcher, we are live.
All right, good evening, everyone. It is Monday, January 25th, and this is the Finance Committee meeting for the Village of Gulf Manor. Let me turn this. I believe we will need a motion to excuse Mr. Pridnoff.
So moved.
And I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. I need a motion to set the agenda and adopt.
Okay. I'd like to add something to it.
Sure.
For this year, I'd like to look at the elected official salaries.
Okay.
They've been the same forever, at least 30 years. And I think maybe we should look at that again.
Yes.
So, Ms. Cheney, there are a couple things that I'll add to my report this evening, including the banking RFP, the solicitor's contract, finance's role in the Rumpke contract, and then I have review of elected official salaries.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, so do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Do we have anybody registered to address the committee this evening?
We do not.
All right. Minutes to be approved from December.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Moving into the new business. We are not reviewing the financial packet for December. We will do that in February. So we will jump into the salary report for 2020. Is that Mr. Hurth? Are you leading that discussion?
I'm sorry. I think I'm still here, although I'm not hearing anybody.
Can you hear us now?
Okay, I can hear Mr. Betcher.
All right. Well, that's the most important part. Sorry, go ahead. Do you want to lead us in the discussion for the salary report for 2020?
Yeah, in fact, it is customary, and I'm sorry I can't see this because I'm not sure what's happening here, but I'll do this from memory. So the administration customarily will advise council of what the ending salaries were at the end of the previous fiscal year. Part of the reason for that is to let you know what and to let the public know what you're paying for services for employees who are employed for the Village of Gulf Manor. In addition to that, it's a reminder for council members that in your appropriations for 2021, you have agreed to a 3% merit increase max on each employee who meets expectation or better in their review. So we're providing that information for you. The other thing that's good to note is as I was looking at the salaries, the salary comps to do the code enforcement official position, Gulf Manor continues to be competitive for communities our size in terms of salary. One thing to note, at the request of the mayor at the end of this review last year, Mayor Dinsmore was a proponent of raising our minimum wage to $15 an hour, which we have done. And that particularly affects the part-time maintenance positions. But if you look at that sheet, and again, I apologize, I can't see it at the moment. We are at that minimum wage, and then anybody who anniversaries during the year 2021 and meets expectations in their performance will then get a 3% increase. Any questions on that?
Not from me. All right. Ms. Cheney, anything for you?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
The fun thing now is I can't see you, so what's next on the agenda?
It would be the setting the salary for the code enforcement official position.
So did everybody have a chance to read the research that I sent you on Sunday?
Yes.
So the administration set what we believed would be the salary for that position. Looking at comps and the average wage, it makes sense, since this is a part-time position, which we hope at some point may go full-time, depending on funding and how busy the position is and what the results are. The average is $45,352 annually for that particular position.
Got a chain reaction.
So that being the case, the ranges that you see there, and again, I cannot see the document, and I apologize. Andy, do you happen to have that up?
I do not.
So essentially, we're anticipating that a person who is in the 0 to 3 year range, the starting salary would be $20 an hour. And then for an hourly position, we pay hourly, but it's always nice to see what the annualized salary is so we can compare that to comps out in the community. I would think that we would be within that range of the 0 to 5 year range when we hire somebody. And I still can't pull that document.
What hourly, or not, number of hours per week or per month do we start offering benefits and pension pickup?
That would be a full-time employee. So what we're looking for in a part-time position is to average 20 hours a week throughout a 52-week cycle. And let's see, I think I might have found the document here finally. There it is. So basically, the hourly rate here, based on what I saw, the average is $45,352 across the state of Ohio. The average minimum on the annual salary is $38,000. The average maximum annual is $62,000, and that would be in larger communities. The full-time non-exempt position works 2,080 hours per year. So what you're seeing for an annualized salary here is based on working full-time. Obviously, if someone's only working 20 hours per week, it's going to be half of what you see as the annualized. Golf Manor employees are paid bi-weekly. The normal pay period accounts for 80 hours. And the position as recommended would work an average of 20 hours per week or 40 hours per pay period. These are based on the assumption that when we started looking at filling this position, we figured we would be somewhere in the $20 to $25 per hour range to hire somebody. So what we would do is ask council to adopt this particular sheet that you see here, which would be the addendum, which will add to the pay ranges that were approved last year. So there's no need at this point in time, when I looked at the comps for other positions, for us to revisit pay ranges for the other positions in the village. That's something that we'll take a look at in the fourth quarter of this year to see if we need to do that for 2022.
All right, so you need a recommendation for us to approve the salary range?
Yes, if you could, and then what we'll do is ask for a motion from council to accept this. Then the plan would be either tomorrow or Wednesday, we'll go ahead and move forward on posting the position with the hopes that we'll have a candidate selected and in place by March 1st.
Okay. One of the things, and it's not necessarily in the purview of this committee, but more of just a general, when the position does get posted, I know in the past we've asked for a salary history. I think we should get out of the habit of that and move towards paying for experience and paying for the candidate versus paying what they've earned in the past.
Yeah, that was a practice that was brought to our attention the last time we posted a position, and we won't be doing that again.
Great. Perfect. All right. COVID expenditure review.
Were there any questions on this? Look, Mr. Prynup, did you have a question? Okay.
No, it was good. Thank you.
So the projects that we completed, we used pretty much every dollar that was sent to us through COVID expenditures. There were two funds where we were given the monies and had to track them, and we have to have the documentation and the proof of COVID expense relatability when we're audited. The third fund was a reimbursement fund that we collected the documentation for and then submitted to the county, who approved that they were COVID related, and then we submitted reimbursement for those. That was a $52,000 pot of money. In fact, today we received the check or the deposit for that reimbursement. So that fund is settled and done with. The other two funds, anything that was left for the second pot was reappropriated to reimburse us for salaries of first responders. I'll send out to the council members a spreadsheet that Mr. Lanzer prepared for us that has detail on this. What that spreadsheet does not do is tell you specifically what the larger projects were that we were able to complete, which I'll tell you about in this meeting. So one of the things that we were concerned about was preserving the ability to hold Mayor's Court once Mayor's Court started up again. So we actually purchased the tent that was in the side parking lot. We modified the entrance to the hall. We purchased additional signage for directing people to public meetings, in addition to purchasing furniture for the hall and for council chambers, where we replaced all of our chairs and our tables to items that were better able to be cleaned and were more sanitary than some of the stuff that we had that was years and years old. One of the other things that we were able to do was to increase the use of our lock system in the village on the municipal building. It's more flexible now and allows us to manage the building remotely and also from a distance to triage folks from outside the building when they have needs to protect our employees from COVID exposure. In addition to that, that system also was able to allow us to upgrade our phone system and put a camera system in that will allow better monitoring and scanning of folks when they come into the building to check their temperature. We were able to support the police department and actually the entire village through the purchase of sanitation and cleaning supplies, purchasing additional PPE for the police department. Our police officers did not have more than 1 or 2 sets of uniforms, which became an issue as they were cleaning their uniforms on a daily basis after exposure. I believe, Chief, everybody has 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 sets now.
I don't have the exact number, but we've at least doubled the uniforms that the officers have available to them.
So in addition to that, the purchase of some of the gaiters, which are the things you pull up around your face, and the masks, and we did branded masks and other things to be able to pass out at some of the public events. That was all included in that. We were also able to purchase the additional, I think the power just flipped, purchase the additional camera that we needed for police car 116 through this funding. We were also able to purchase a GPS tracking system to help the police officers. And Chris, you may want to speak more specifically how that helps with, that particular system helped with our social distancing for the officers. In addition, we did enhancements on the squad side of the police department in order to safely handle folks who were detained for any period of time within the building. There were a lot of smaller things, but I think one of the biggest issues or one of the biggest benefits that we had was the ability to repurpose some of that money to reimburse the village for salary. And Andy, I don't know if off the top of your head, do you recall what the amount of that was that we directed
Yeah, I
back
can
to
tell
salaries?
you. Yeah, hold on 1 second, and I can tell you exactly how much it was.
And I apologize because I can't see that report either.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. So of the county reimbursable funds, well, all of that went, all of the county reimbursable funds went to operating expenses. Source 1, which is Fund 2151, personnel was $7,000. Source 2, which is Fund 2152, personnel was $84,000 in 2020 and an additional $4,200 in 2021. So together we're around just over $90,000 in personnel expenses.
So the thing that to recall, you may remember that there were some employees at various times over the past year who were out because of COVID exposures. Those incidents were reimbursed through the COVID fund. So we were basically zero net expense when those types of things happen. Now, what we've not had confirmation of yet is with the passage of the stimulus package at the end of the year, there should be monies that are coming or an extension of monies that were left over, which may be given to the local communities to cover any COVID exposures that happen after December 31st of 2020. So the one thing that we have to be careful of is we were required to offer specific amounts of COVID recovery time if you were exposed. At this point, that becomes a liability to the village as additional benefit time. but I'm expecting sometime here within the next week or so that we'll hear more specifically about getting additional reimbursement for COVID things that happened. The other thing which we really hadn't acted on that I had I wasn't sure when this was going to happen, but the county contacted us today, and there is a $60,000 fund that we had requested for reimbursement to purchase new playground equipment in the park. Apparently that is there for us and we can utilize it. At this point, we've gotten one quote, and I talked with them today. They're going to give us some additional vendors that we can talk to see about getting additional quotes for a better price for replacing the playground equipment, which is a plus for us because that'll be a project that we won't have to take out of our own pocket, and that playground equipment has aged out at this point. So I think Ms. Cheney recalls when that was put in, probably I think at this point 15 years ago. So that's a real plus that we'll be seeing that coming this way. Any questions on that at this point? I'll send that report to everybody probably tomorrow. And then if there's any questions or line item things that you'd like to discuss, feel free to touch base with me.
All right.
Chief, did you want to talk about that tracking system real quick while we've got you?
I can. Yeah, it's an expansion of our GPS tracking capabilities. Right now, we use them with Lieutenant Forrest and the dog. We've been successful where in real time, the comm center can see exactly where the dog is, help coordinate the perimeter officers when we've been tracking suspects, and helps the officers move accordingly to where the bad guy may be moving. And so we added additional units for that. It's a great manpower saver, a force multiplier. When you know exactly where somebody's at, it helps you deploy the rest of the people that are assisting in a situation much more efficiently. So we added a few additional units. Chad will use those in keeping track of suspects in his investigations, and they'll be available to the PD as well. So it's a good thing.
Thank you, Chief. One of the things that I didn't add to this list, the investment that we made in the camera system and the lock system allowed us to leverage that so we can improve our computer systems on the server to be able to accommodate the download of the data from the cars for video, and then also long-term to be able to do body cams. So this whole thing really dovetailed nicely into allowing us to get a lot of projects done at one time. That's the end of my report on that.
Lovely. Do you want to talk about Rumpke Contract?
Yeah, so the Rumpke Contract was originally done in 2013. We had a 5-year contract with the ability to extend for 3 years. The mechanics of that contract will be discussed in the executive committee, but once we know specifically what kinds of things we wish to continue or change or add to the contract, the actual financial piece of it will come to the finance committee. So I just wanted to make this committee aware that that discussion is probably going to start sometime around the end of March, 1st of April. I have sent the RFP that we used in 2013 to the executive committee for them to have several weeks to wade through that. One of the things that I would like to see us do is through Mr. Lanzer, be able to work more closely with Hamilton County Recycling as we do this negotiation. Last year we did it on, or the last time we did this on our own. And I think the county can be very helpful to us. The other thing that we need to try and include in this contract this time is yard waste recycling. We have a lot of yard waste that just goes into the regular garbage, whether it be through dumping it in the brown cans or putting it in paper bags, and it just goes in the regular trash. I think there are some real synergies there, and we can increase to the tonnage of recycling if we can have a formalized program. One of the things that concerns me is at the end of the 5-year contract, which was in 2018, we made the decision to go ahead and extend for 3 more years because Rumpke was telling us that there was anywhere from a 25 to 30% increase in garbage rates had we gone out and renegotiated at that time. My guess is that situation is no better in 2021. So we may be seeing some significant increases in garbage rates for our residents going forward. So just to make folks aware of that, that's going to be, that whole issue is going to be something that we're going to be talking about a lot through the second and third quarters this year. That needs to be completed by September 30th as our current contract ends at that time.
All right. Solicitor, did you want to discuss the solicitor contract as well?
Yeah, Mr. Donnellan and I have talked for a couple of years now that we have been on the same contract with Donnellan and Donnellan for a long time. And Mr. Donnellan, if you're not aware, his father was our solicitor for many, many years. And then Terry continued, and his firm has served us for a long, long time. He does give us a significant discount in hourly rate when you look at where we fall in with some of the larger communities that he represents. Terry wishes to continue to be helpful to the village of Gulf Manor, but on a regular basis, we should be sitting down and looking at various kinds of services, and we haven't done that, particularly with the solicitor's contract for several years now. I can't recall having discussed this since I had joined council back in 2013. So, and Sharon, I may be wrong on that, but I can't remember the last time. I'm not aware of when we talked about solicitor services before.
I think we just continued it, but I can't remember when we discussed it. There wasn't any increase.
So
Let's keep it.
What I've asked Ms. Gideon to do is to give us is to prepare for us an average of how we've used the solicitor's hours over the past 5 years. I know our use of the solicitor has increased exponentially, particularly since we had started the discussions on the fire merger back in 2017. And that has continued to be a financial liability for us through that process. What I would expect is once we have that analysis, we'll have a discussion with Mr. Donnellan on what they would propose, and then we'll bring this back to the committee. I would expect in March to have that discussion.
All right, Ms. Cheney, you asked to add the elected official salaries to the discussion.
So I talked to Mr. Donnellan. Ms. Cheney had mentioned that to me this morning. I talked to Mr. Donnellan. What the process of that is, this again is a review like we would review anything else. It hasn't been done for a long time. What we will do is touch base with the Center for Local Government to see what other communities our size is doing when it comes to elected official salaries. So we'll be looking at the mayor and we'll look at the council members. The way this works, though, is current council members cannot raise their salaries. So if council makes a decision prior to the certification of candidates for the 4 council member positions that will be open in November of 2021, If a decision is made and it becomes legislation, those 4 people who are elected would be eligible for if there is an increase in salary. Same thing that would be true for the other 2 members. If the mayor would be reelected or a new mayor comes in 2023, that individual would be eligible for a changed rate of pay. Same thing would be true for the other 2 council members who are on that cycle. So you have to make the decision, and then you have to cycle through an election, and then after that, any change in pay would be eligible after that takes place. It's timely that we have that discussion. As we've continued to look at best practices in other areas, this is just another place that we really need to just take a look at and see how we're doing. I would propose we also start that in the month of March. So we have time to pull information, and then I'll make sure that information gets to the committee chair and to the mayor.
Okay. I know that for a while, back when the village was in a rougher financial position, a lot of elected officials decided not to take salaries. But Ms. Cheney made a comment at the beginning that it's been the same for 30 years. Is that really the truth?
You know, there really is not a record. Mr. Donnellan probably knows that, I would guess.
Well, I was on council in the 90s and we got 100 a month. So it hasn't changed since the 90s. It has probably been longer than that.
All right. Okay, cool. We will come back to that in March, hopefully with some more information. So the other matter of new business is the police department financial outlook.
Mr. Lancer, did you want to address that?
Yeah, so I think, hold on, let me pull up some documents here. My UAN's not. Yeah, I can do it off memory. I think the police department, as we all know, is the largest department, both in staff and in terms of resources allocated by the village. This year, the police department set to receive approximately $1.3 million in appropriations. It's basically what they got last year as well. But one thing that we need to keep in mind is that there's several outstanding. We've increased the number of leases. Those appropriations are appropriated, of course. The resources are appropriated to cover them. But as always, I know it's been a concern of the police department are participating in a program where the revenues have been inconsistent. And one of those, that same program, the revenues have been inconsistent in that program for most of last year. We did see a deposit this month, actually. So hopefully that's a sign of good things to come for 2021. But we probably need to be thinking about what we're going to do in this area in the event that revenues are delayed once again in 2021. It's pretty much all I wanted to. I just wanted to make you all aware of that this conversation might have to happen once again. So there's no surprises if and when we decide to have that conversation in the months ahead.
Chief Campbell, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah. With COVID and the slowdown of the government, the processings of the payments that we're discussing were delayed, but the casework has continued. Currently, there are 143 pending forfeitures in that system coming our way. 60 plus of those have already been approved. It's just a matter of them being released. There are multiple millions of dollars in these forfeitures. A lot of the larger cases came from our officer, who will in turn give us a larger share of what is processed through this program. So I will keep I'll keep this body advised of that.
In the past, you've sent me some like just revenues versus expenses. Could you update that, update me with that, like through 2020, just so I have an idea of what we're looking at, and then maybe a projection for 2021?
I can do that.
That'd be great. Or if you need me to come and see it in person, I'm happy to do that as well.
Yeah, that might work, because some of the cases are still pending. Just for point of reference, in the past, when we received in excess of $100,000 in a calendar year, there were 60 or 70 cases pending in the system. We're double that right now. So there's a lot on the horizon.
All right. I'm going to shoot you an email. We can maybe connect later this week or early next to kind of review things. That'd be okay.
Sounds good.
Great. Any other questions from the committee about that? No? All right. I do have one matter of old business, if it would be okay to bring up. I know a couple months ago we talked about doing an RFP for banking services. Has that gone anywhere? We've done anything with that? I know it's kind of a back burner project with a lot of other things going on, but just something that I thought as we look through 2021, a project that could use some attention.
It's that actually was on my list that I can't find here, and I apologize that that wasn't in my original report. That was pretty much on the back burner as we got to the close of last year. In fact, we got an RFP recommendation from Mr. Donnellan today that we'll be going through and finalizing. I would hope that that gets sent out probably by the next finance meeting on February 22nd. That should be a fairly quick turnaround, that we would have something in front of council probably in March to make a decision on whether or not we would change banking services.
Great. Thank you. I just, obviously with my background, it's always been on my mind as something to pay attention to. So perfect. That is all I have at the moment. Any other old business or anything like that we need to cover? All right. Next Finance Committee meeting scheduled for Monday, February 22nd at 6 o'clock. And then Audit Committee will be on Monday the same evening at 5:45. But other than that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
And I will second.
Second.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Purnell.
One
All
thing I
those in
can-
favor? Aye. All right. We are adjourned. See everybody in council.
Okay.